Is it really worth keeping your US citizenship, or is it worth giving it up? More and more Americans are turning their backs on the US and renouncing their citizenship for good. And it's not just about taxes. Today we are going to share many of the reasons why Americans are handing back their passports. We are going to bust the myths and you will find out whether this is the right move for you. The truth is, most people, even among our clients, don't renounce their citizenship. But I believe everyone should know what it would take for them to walk away from their country, what the limit would be for renouncing their citizenship. You have to define those lines. Still, it's important to mention that more and more Americans are giving up their nationality. Who is doing it and why? You're about to see some profiles that completely contradict the stereotype pushed by the media and the politicians who want your money. First, let's talk about Americans who don't even know they are American. People born in the US who have never lived there a single day, and years later the government comes after them for unpaid taxes. They have never worked in the US. What's interesting is that just being born in the US is enough. Birthright citizenship in the US and in other countries across the Americas means that's all it takes. When you renounce US citizenship, the form asks, how did you acquire US citizenship? The answer were, born in the US. Whether your parents were American is completely irrelevant. If that man had been born in Mexico, his mother could have gone to the US embassy and applied for a consular report of birth abroad. But because he was born in the US, he is a citizen, and he will be until he chooses otherwise. And if your kids are in that situation, the time for them to decide and free themselves from it is when they turn 18. In most cases, you can't renounce before that age, but at 18, you can. Accidental Americans may have zero real connection to the US, but they are still required to file and pay taxes. Why? Because the US taxes based on citizenship. People constantly confuse this. We help Americans legally reduce their tax burden, especially entrepreneurs and investors. In some cases, depending on how international your situation is, you can pay zero, but typically, most people can save between 75, 80 or even 90% of taxes. Still, you are always a tax resident, and you will be. The rest of the world right now doesn't work like that. Ironically, France is exploring something similar, taxing you no matter where you live if you meet certain criteria. We have talked about this before. So if you are French or from another EU country like me, Spain, maybe reach out too. We might help you to obtain a different citizenship if you're not keen on paying tax even when you don't spend a single day there in a given year but have in recent years. But that seems to be the basis of their upcoming law. If you're American, you have to pay taxes no matter where you live. Yes, there are treaties and mechanisms that make it slightly easier, especially if you live in a high-tax country like France. But it's still a nightmare. Even Americans living in Canada with dual citizenship run into trouble with their retirement accounts. It's ugly, all because the US believes it owns you, wherever you are. You have to pay, and even if you don't know anything, you still have to report. You have to tell them about your business. You are always their subject. You must do everything they say, and they need to know everything about you. Renouncing over taxes might be the starting point, but often it's not the most important reason. It could be about principles. I don't agree with being part of the only country in the world that imposes not just taxes, but regulations, restrictions on how you can do business with, how you can operate your company. To me, that's unacceptable. And every year, thousands of Americans, accidental or not, decide they have had enough. We have clients who ask, do I have to renounce no matter what? No. Some people say, if I pay 10% and live in a place that makes me happy, I'm okay with it. Perfect. It's a great decision. It's hard to know how many people actually go through with it. The IRS releases a quarterly list in the Federal Register with the name of those who have renounced. It's called the Name and Shame list, but it's outdated. Many names listed now actually renounced years ago. As you would expect, US bureaucracy is inefficient. Still, more people are doing it. In official data released in 2020, 5,816 Americans renounced in the first half of the year, over 10 times the previous 6-month period. During the pandemic, crypto was booming. Imagine not being able to renounce at being hit with a massive exit tax. All that talk about how anyone can leave their country or renounce their citizenship, it's false. It's fake. Many countries signed UN treaties they don't honor. They promise protection, but don't help. Embassies stayed open for other services, but not for renunciations. Meanwhile, people's net worth were skyrocketing and they couldn't act. And that's one reason to do it, because when you really need to, they make it hard. Better 2 years early than 1 day later. Those who try to renounce quickly find that the process is harder and more expensive than it seems. That's why we exist. I personally haven't renounced US citizenship because I'm not American, okay? I'm not US citizen, but my partners have. My team can help you. We can get you a new citizenship that gives you similar travel freedom without the annual headaches and taxes. If it were easy, people wouldn't need us. It's often a process that takes years and costs thousands of dollars. And the former American could face unexpected consequences like never being able to visit the US again. I don't think that happens to most people, but yes, it's possible that once you renounce, you will need a visa to enter, depending on your new citizenship. I don't think anyone's actually seen that happen. Then again, maybe don't start a YouTube channel with 3,000 videos shouting about it, you might annoy someone. But apart from that, they will likely treat you like anyone else. If you are from a country that requires a visa, you will go through the normal process. If not, you will probably be allowed in without issue. That's why many people pursue citizenship by descent. Another option was Malta's citizenship by donation, roughly $1 million for the whole family, giving you the right to live anywhere in Europe. A good passport matters if you want to renounce and still visit the US. There are strong passports that allows this, but also exceptions, like Hungary, which introduces a special rule, so there are details you must understand. Even citizenship granted for merit in places like Serbia, Albania, Georgia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Mexico, Argentina, Slovenia, Slovakia, Austria, Romania. There are options, and the people you imagine renouncing aren't just accidental Americans living in France on average salaries. The ultra wealthy are also giving up their passports for some reasons. Some do it for political reasons, this country wastes my money, or I don't identify as American. They live abroad, some want to invest in crypto or other sectors, and being American makes it difficult. During the pandemic, many couldn't renounce in time and missed investment opportunities. Some likely lost tens of millions because of it. There is a growing group of ultra-wealthy individuals seeking alternatives abroad, seeing the US tax system as abuse. Renunciation is still rare, and that's true. Many people come to us just to reduce their tax burden, and today, most don't even aim for zero. We have legal, ethical ways to do it, but many of our clients say, give me a plan to pay 10 or 12%, I want a better life, I'm willing to pay for it. So yes, renunciation is rare. What most want to know is how it works, what the options are, and what steps they should take in the next 5 years to keep the door open. But the ultra-rich tend to go after second citizenship or residencies in places like Malta, Portugal, Serbia, the UAE, Italy Golden Visa, for example, instead of renouncing outright. Now you can have as many passports as you want, but if you are American, for tax purposes, you are still American. Someone once told me, hey Victor, I opened that bank account with my other passport. That's not how it works. You are required to inform the bank or financial institution if you are a US citizen. You can just say, here I'm American, there I'm from St. Lucia. It doesn't work that way. That's why I recommend having a second passport or several, because maybe one day you will be able to drop the one that's causing all your problems. And I don't think it will just be the US in the future. For me, being Maltese is a plan B that lets me live anywhere in Europe. EU citizens can live in any member state, and many are tax friendly, including Malta. But maybe you want to be Maltese and live in Switzerland, and you will pay less taxes as a Maltese citizen than as an American. I have had clients recover their investment over several years after donating to Malta or Serbia or Argentina, then moving to Switzerland as Europeans. Eventually, they renounced the US citizenship because they realized they didn't want those problems. One of them had hundreds of millions of dollars. He was one of those ultra-rich. And in my opinion, if you are planning to renounce and can afford it, you should have a European or high-quality passport. If for some reason you want to live in Chile and your parents are Chilean, you might obtain that citizenship, and it can be nearly as valuable as a European passport. You would have access to live in a different region, South America instead of Europe. You could still return to the US, since Chile is the only Latin American passport with visa-free access to the US. For now, because we are seeing maybe Paraguay, maybe Argentina, with a visa waiver program. But if you are seriously considering renouncing your citizenship, I would suggest that instead of doing it all at once, maybe donate a certain amount in a less aggressive country than the US, secure access to the countries you care about, and obtain diplomatic protection elsewhere. That's an option. Rather than renouncing altogether, what you really need is a plan. If things get bad, what would you do? You can set your own conditions, but if you care about taxes, freedom, or estate tax, you need a plan. What happens if your main nationality goes off the rails? Some people will say, I will get a St. Lucia passport, another from a country I like, and I don't need to go back to the US. And if I get a visa, great, but if you have a family and care about them, secure that better passport now. Now it must be said. Many people ask me, can I get my US citizenship back after renouncing? No, it's permanent. It's done. When it's done, you can try to immigrate back to the US like anyone else. The EB-5 visa is one of such route, a green card as an immigrant investor. But once you have the green card, you are back in the tax system and you can vote or enjoy the same rights as before. And if you leave the country for too long, your residency can be revoked. There is also Trump's new gold card. We'll see how that develops. The US isn't a country where you can have a pocket residency. Will they let someone back in after renunciation? Sometimes yes. Sometimes no. There are ways to return without re-entering the tax system. There are non-immigrant visas like the E2 or residency permits that don't link to citizenship but let you stay. In theory, you could get back your citizenship through a long-term residency, but you can't unrenounce. There is no such thing as a temporary renunciation. In my case, from the outside looking in, if I ever did something similar with my Spanish citizenship, it would be because I didn't identify with the country anymore. I wouldn't want the citizenship hanging over my head. I would want to be able to say, I have had cut ties. And if you feel like your country is turning against you because of who you are, then yes, renouncing could bring peace. But make sure you have a plan, where you will live, how you will travel, which passport you will use. That's all for now, because this won't make you happy, but it will make you free. Fill out the form and I will see you there.